Hi Dario, how are you?
Hello, Ipek. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here and thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, you are just back from New York US Open, right?
Yes, I just arrived back. I've been with my player for a couple of tournaments. Mostly, I spent some time with her in Toronto and San Jose, and then some preparation for US Open.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, not so successful for us this year, but
Just for the information, if they don't know. So you had an amazing year so far with her. She won Wimbledon, which is amazing. So I'm sure there will be some up and down moments. So
this is normal. This is life. I mean, yeah, she had unbelievable success in Wimbledon this year, but she's still young. She's only 22. So I hope
mhm.
in the future there will be a lot of other Grand Slams and Wimbledons. So let's
Yes.
work for that.
Yes, exactly. So I have a lot of important questions. So I would like to start with the question of fitness, importance of fitness in tennis, which I'm sure most of us know. And personally, as a professional player and also someone who has been through a lot of injuries, I know how important it is. But could you tell me a little bit about the importance of fitness in tennis?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I think now in the modern tennis, we cannot talk only about tennis and tennis specific work. All the players, no matter if they belong to the top of the ATP or WTA or they are lower ranked players, they all work hard on their fitness. So I would say that fitness training is becoming very, very important asset in the development of a tennis player. We all know that tennis has evolved from the sport in which skill was the dominant component, but now tennis requires really interaction of I would say several physical components. As tennis involves all the major components of performance. There's a strength, speed, power, agility, flexibility, stability. I mean, muscle endurance, you name it. So it is really important to have for every player, basically, I would say not just the professional players, but also for young players to have a well-designed training program to, I would say, effectively and efficiently train all those components in a structured and periodized, individualized program. So I think it's very, very important to emphasize the importance of fitness in tennis.
Yes. So my next question was to how can we specify tennis in the ages? So the way you're saying is, should we start from the first years of tennis to develop the fitness part, or which age do you think we should start to consider fitness?
Yes, this is also a really good question because sometimes people don't understand the let's say the meaning of fitness or the meaning of strength and conditioning program. And many people consider who are not like too deep into this topic, they consider strength conditioning or fitness training as something that people have or kids have to do, you know, a lot of hours in the gym. And the fitness or the strength conditioning, it's not just the gym and heavy weights. Fitness is also working on the coordination. Fitness is also working on the balance, working on the movement.
Yeah.
So that's why I when I talk to parents and people who are let's say not fitness experts, I like to talk about the ABC abilities. The ABC would stand for A would stand for agility, B would stand for balance, and C would be coordination. And this is something that especially when we are talking about the kids, or especially under 12 years old, they would need to work on the ABC abilities a lot. Because what I see in my everyday practice that unfortunately many young tennis players do not develop their ABCs and the basic movement skill to a high level early in life. So this is something definitely to think about and obviously in everyday life to work on it.
Yeah. So like after 12 years old, does the program needs to change? Do we need, for example, let's say in Turkey, we have like under 10, under 12, 14, also like in Tennis Europe. And between 12 to 14 and 14 to 16, is there a big difference about the fitness planning or is it similar?
I mean, of course, there are some differences, obviously, because the biological maturation is happening, and kids are developing. So things in terms of the physiology and their anatomy, things are changing. So for sure, we have to take this into consideration.
Yeah.
But something that I would like to emphasize here is something that in the literature is called the critical periods of training. So this is kind of let's say, the optimum window of opportunity for each ability. And if you look at the literature, you will find that, for example, some periods of the development are very important to emphasis. For example, if you want to work, let's say, on the aerobic capacity, or if you want to work on the speed, if you want to work general on the motor skills, then you have to work before the age of 12. And you have to, as I said before, to spend a lot of time on the ABC abilities.
Yeah.
But of course, after this period, and again, I'm just talking generally because we have to take each person individually. And as we know, there's a biological maturation going on. So, for example, for you at the age of 14 could be very different to me at the age of 14. We are the same chronological age, but most probably our biological age is different. So we have to take this in consideration. But let's say after this peak high velocity, what we call in the kinesiology, this is the period that you have to spend more time on the different abilities. Let's say you're going to work on the strength more. You're going to work on different components of speed. So of course we have to take into consideration the age, but not just the chronological age. We have to think about also the biological age of every kid.
Yeah, I understand. When the last episode, I did it with Magnus Norman, which I know he's a close friend of you. And he has also mentioned to me about underage, we have to put the base till 12 years old in tennis and also on the physical part, like you say now.
Yes, for sure. Because I mean, if I can just add one thing, sorry for interrupting.
No, sorry.
The tennis is very unique sport. I mean, first of all, this specialization is happening very early. That means that the kids, and especially their parents, are focused on only on tennis at the very young age.
Yes.
And this could, contribute to, first of all, one-sided dominance, because obviously you play only with one side. So if you start to do the repetitive movements too early, then you can, just develop this one-sided dominance, which is something that we don't want. There's definitely, if the specialization is too early, there's a lack, as I said before, lack of ABC and the basic movement skills. You can develop, potentially greater overuse injuries. You can develop, potentially early burnout. So yeah, we definitely have to think about the young kids, and I completely agree with Magnus. In this period, let's say until 12, 13, we have to work on the basics. We have to take, the consideration, the critical periods of training. We have to think about the windows of opportunities. We have to work on the basic motor skills. This is something that quite often I see in the practice that we skip.
Yeah, no, I really I get really happy when you define the early ages practice ways or tournament schedule. Even I spoke with Magnus, because what happens in Turkey a lot is that we want parents want their kids to be very successful at 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old. It's a very long process. And first of all, we need to explain the parents that this road is very long, and we need to consider it like a 10 or 20 years, ahead. So yeah, it's quite important that we hear it from you. So, you mentioned it a lot about in your words that to work specifically in tennis and specifically towards the player. So I remember as a player, I didn't work specifically till I was maybe 16 or 17 years old, which is very, very late. And also in Turkey, most of the time when we put the kids in the groups of fitness after the tennis trainings, they do a lot of similar things to each other, but it should be different, right? Like everybody should have a different program.
Yeah, I'm just laughing a bit because there's one saying in Croatia that if you look at the fingers, they are not the same even on the same hand. So how you can do the same program for each kid? I mean, probably if you have a group of let's say 6 players, for sure some of them are more talented, some of them are more mature, some of them are mentally advanced. I mean, I guarantee that among those 6 players that you have on court, there are so much of difference between them. And of course, I mean, it's logical then to conclude that each one of them, they need, the specific approach. They need the individual approach, because if I'm missing for myself, I don't know, speed or quickness, maybe for you, it's aerobic endurance. So of course you have to work on the aerobic endurance and I have to work on the tennis specific movement. So yeah, it's a logical thing, but it's not just a logical, it's also grounded into the science. So for sure that, we have to work on the individual approach for every player.
Great. Do you still have this national testing center in Zagreb? Because I was working with a Croatian coach, Ivona, that time.
Yes.
And she took me to a university where they did a lot of fitness tests for me. Does it still
That's correct.
exist?
That's correct. It's a big sport lab attached to the University of Zagreb. And we are doing a lot of testing for different sports. And recently we have also developed a specific testing protocol for the tennis players, because again, even in the testing area, we need to test different things, whether we are working with a tennis player or we are working with a soccer player. I mean, there are obviously a big differences in between the sports too. Yeah. So that's why we have developed a very specific protocol for tennis players. And again, this testing procedure is becoming very, very important, because if I have to refer to your previous question in about the individualized program, I mean, if we test our players and we see the strength and the areas of the improvement, then we are pretty convinced and pretty sure that we're gonna create a good program for each player.
Yeah, I mean, my question was how important is testing, but as your words, I understand it's super important before we set up a program, like for every coach to see the.
Of course, this is those are the basics of the training. I mean, it's all about the testing and the training. I mean, if you test your player, let's say at the beginning of the season, and you determine the strength and areas for improvement, you are allowing yourself to set the accurate goals to be set, and then according to that you are planning your training, and then after a while, let's say after 6 months or after a year, you test again and you see the improvements. This is, I mean, very simple, but again, you have to do the testing at the beginning. You have to have some kind of the general input, the general information about your player, to be able to create a good plan, and then you just keep working according to the goals. So it's
it's quite important. I remember when we did it, we could aim some goals for the physical part. So it's quite important. And can we tell about what kind of tests do the player needs to do? Like, is it like flexibility or endurance, so that people can know what is the details?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's very important to understand the nature of sport, the nature of tennis, to understand the needs of each tennis player. So knowing that, over the years, I have created, let's say, my own testing system, and I have 5, let's say, different areas that I'm testing. First of all, especially when working with the young players, but not just the young players, even with the professional players. First of all, I'm interested in their posture, in their body, like, I call it prevention program. So if there is everything, I would say, like generally in place, then I mean, we can do the next step in the program. But if there's something missing in terms of the posture and the stability of the body, the mobility of different joints, then we for sure have to work on it to be able to go to the next step. So this is first area. The second area that I test is the balance. So I mean, very important for tennis players to have a good, balance, to good position on the court, to be able to execute a good shot, to move well. So the balance is a very important area to test. For sure, strength and power. I mean, all the players, especially the older ones, they need to be strong and they have to be powerful to be able to play at a high level. Of course, as a fourth area, I'm interested into the movements. You have to move well on the tennis court. I would say this is the most important part. In order to get to the ball, to hit.
First thing. First thing is to see.
Yes, this is also a part. Very good, Ipek. This is very good notice, because when we talk about the movement, recently, I'm lately doing a lot of research on the reactive agility, on the cognitive agility. So it's not just to, as you said, it's not just to move well. It's to be able to realize, to see what's going on, and according to that, to move well. So movement, very important, obviously. And fifth area is the cardio, the endurance part. You have to endure to be able to play like 3 or 5 sets match. So a lot of important areas. So yeah, I would say those are the most important things to test.
Mine was always worst at endurance.
Endurance.
I never like to run too long or like too high at the heart rate, but when I did that, it was the most effective one for me too.
Yeah, but you know what? For example, if we talk about the abilities, obviously some abilities you can improve faster than the others. So the aerobic part is, I would say, easy to improve, because it's not kind of a genetically determined. You know what I mean? So, because, for example, if you are born, I would say, slow, you can improve, but it's going to be very difficult for you to become Usain Bolt.
Yes.
But the aerobic part is easy to improve, but it's just not easy to do. As you said, it's really high intensity workouts and sometimes boring. But that's why in modern approach, we are using more specific movements than the traditional, like track and field running and this treadmill running. So there are also different ways how you can work on the aerobic capacity.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I normally enter with explaining about your career. Sorry, I was a bit excited and I missed that part. So
No problem.
I will try to add the parts in the questions. So
no problem.
Till this time, I know that you have worked with Donna Vekic, Borna Coric. Borna is back from injury, amazing now. Very happy for him. You have been working with some NBA players from other sports as well, and many other tennis players that I know, but mostly you were with Croatian ones. And also at the moment you are working with Rybakina, and you have been with her some time now, right? Like, is it since last year or?
It's already like 2 years from now.
2 years. Yeah. And her coach is also Croatian, right?
He is also Croatian. That's right.
Nice. So what is the secret of these Croatian players, coaches, players? Everybody must be working hard.
Yeah, let's say it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, could you tell me a little bit about your progress with Rybakina? It has been 2 years, like you said. She won last Wimbledon. She's 22 years old. So could you tell me how important is the fitness work in her game?
I mean, as I said at the beginning of this interview, I would say for every tennis player, the fitness is becoming more and more important. If we are talking about Elena, for sure, for her, fitness is, I would say, as important as tennis. Why I'm saying this? Because first of all, she is young. As you said, she's only 22. She never did before some systematic strength conditioning workout. So she started basically pretty late with the whole approach on her fitness, and she's, after all, very tall girl.
Yes.
So this is something that we need to take into the equation. when we are talking about the fitness approach for her. She's a very talented player. Obviously, she won Wimbledon this year. She's a very powerful athlete. She's hitting hard. She's serving unbelievable. I think she had last year the most aces on tour. So, again, if we are talking about the individualized program, we need to look at her, how she plays, how she looked like, and then according to that, and obviously according to her testing results, we are building and setting up the program for her in order, first of all, to improve the major components of her fitness, but also the most important thing I would say, to prevent her from injuries. Because you know that all the top players playing a lot of tournaments, a lot of matches during the year, a lot of pressure on the joints, a lot of pressure on the whole body. So I would say the most important thing in her program is to make her healthy and to save her from injuries. And then obviously to use those periods during the year and especially the off season to work, let's say, heavily on her fitness.
Yeah, I would really like the people who will watch the video to understand you are not doing the work all year at the highest level. So there are like times that you put the work, she plays tournaments, she gets recoveries, and then she puts the work in again. So it's never going at the same level, right?
Of course. I would say the intensity is the highest during the off season. That would be like, I would say, 6 weeks in November, December before the Australian tour. But then we have a couple of blocks. Let's say the first block is after the Australia. So it's the preparation for all those tournaments that are playing outside, like Doha, Dubai, and all the other tournaments. Then we are preparing a bit for clay season, then preparation for grass. And then after the US Open, there will be the last short preparation block before the off season. So there are a couple of periods during the year in which we put a more emphasis on fitness than on tennis to develop her fitness. And the rest of the year would be a lot of tennis. So it's going to be a lot of specific work. And we just have to think about how to maintain her fitness, let's say, if possible, at the same level all the time.
And there are also different workouts, different preparations for the court surfaces, right?
That's correct. Tennis, as I said before, is very unique sport. It's very complex sport. I would say it's completely different to all other sports. First of all, you play only with one side of the body. You are doing a lot of side-to-side movements comparing to other sports that you go forward and backward. You are playing on a different surfaces. You are playing in different continents, in different conditions. So, of course, we have to take all this into the consideration. And when you said about the surfaces, it's very different, I would say, approach to the body if you play clay or grass.
Yes.
I mean, the bounce is completely different. The muscles that you're gonna use on clay is completely different. I mean, not completely, but it's gonna be different than when you play on the grass. We know that grass is low bounce. You have to be, very low with the position. You have to be wide. You have to, do all the. You have to react fast. So for sure, we think about this when preparing for different surfaces.
I mean, from the words you say, I only understand the word adaptation. It's all about adapting all the time in tennis. Adapting the country, weather, courts, players, opponents. It's always adjusting, adapting. So
yes, I agree completely. Adaptation, I would say, is the key component, not just in tennis, in every sport, but in tennis, it's becoming even more important.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to tell a little bit about your studies that you had done, which I had to say in the beginning. Okay. So you have done your studies in University of Zagreb, and then you did some postdoctoral studies in Harvard, which is amazing. When I saw that, I was very excited about it, and also Colombia University, which is based in New York. and you did different studies in these universities. And after that, you started to do your own program, build your own program. And also you are doing a lot of conferences in Europe, in now Asia. I saw in your calendar there is Tokyo. So I think it's amazing that you have this knowledge and you want to share it with everyone. And I just want you to tell me a little bit about how, like, when you go to these events, what kind of feedbacks do you get? Or when you go to these conferences, what do you talk about? What kind of feedbacks do you get?
I mean, since I'm working at the University of Zagreb for like more than I think it's going to be, I'm not counting, I don't know exactly when I started to teach, but it's already like 15 years from now. So this is my job to teach, to share the knowledge, to if I can to help young coaches to become better. I think that's my role, and I don't want to keep everything for myself, because sooner or later we're gonna leave this place, and then nobody's gonna have any benefit from the experience that we have. So there's a saying that sharing is caring, and I really believe in this. So whenever I go to conferences, whenever I do my own education stuff for the coaches, I try to share my experience. I try to share my knowledge. I try, because I think that that in that sense we are all becoming better, and then we are helping our sport to grow and to become better. And I really don't understand people who just keep things for themselves, especially because we mentioned this word so many times during the interview, the adaptation. And there are so many different adaptations in this sport, and so many different individual players, that we definitely cannot repeat or just take the program for someone else and then to copy and to expect the same result, because everybody's so different, and there's no recipe for the success.
Yes.
So I don't understand why people don't want to share their experience and knowledge, because this is something to share. So yes, I think it's very important for everyone. Not I mean, even for I consider myself still a student, and I still it was so funny because which I was just going to share one story with you. So after the Wimbledon we won this year, it was in July. We were at the top of the game, right? We won the biggest tournament, and then you have a feeling that you are so good, But then I had unbelievable and unique experience next week after the Wimbledon to spend a few days with the fitness coach of Roger and Stan Wawrinka. Pierre Paganini is one of the most famous coaches in the world. His players, Stan and Roger, won 23 Grand Slams. And when I came there, I mean, at that time I realized how much I still need to learn, even though week before I won, my player won the Wimbledon. So we always can learn, we always can improve, we always can, do better. And this is just how I approach things.
No, it's amazing. I mean, you said so many important things in last couple of minutes. You said, first of all, you feel like a student, which is, I think, the richness of life, to feel this way in every age. And the reason I'm doing this video is that in Turkey, we do need to have more information about tennis, about fitness, about physical part, mental part, so that's why I'm trying to reach out to people that I knew for a very long time. And I knew who to come in the first places, because we do spend a lot of time with you talking before. And I know that you have this knowledge and you have this energy to share. So it's amazing to have people like you and like Magnus and my next interviews also.
Thank you, Ipek. So, thank you so much.
I do know it's quite important to have conferences in the world, in our country as well. And my goal in the next couple of years is to be able to do it live. Okay, we are doing it now online, but I would like it actually to happen in Turkey. So I hope I will have to host you in Turkey as well in next years. It will be very nice. So my next question and last one, and I want to ask you, what are your short-term goals now? What is upcoming for you?
Well, I mean, to keep improving, to work better every day. The season is still not finished yet, so we still have a couple of tournaments to play. So I think after US Open, we're gonna have a couple of days to prepare a bit for the end of the season. Unfortunately, Elena didn't get the points for Wimbledon, so she's still far from the finals. But we still hope that she can make some good results to play the Masters at the end of the year. But if not, then we're gonna finish the season, and then we're gonna start preparing the off season, which is going to be very, very important to prepare well for the next year. So yeah, this is tennis wise, and academically wise is to keep working on the research, to keep working with my students, and hopefully to do all those events that we are planning for the end of this year and also for the next year.
Oh, it's very nice and exciting. Where would you do the off season with her? Like, do you choose warm places or cold places? Because the first tournament of the year is Australia, so you adjust for that, or how does it work?
we are trying to think, of course, about the climate in Australia. So for the last 2 years, we were doing the off season in Dubai, which is, first of all, let's say halfway to Australia, so you save some hours to travel, but also it's very nice weather, obviously, in December there, probably the most beautiful weather in that period of the year in Dubai. So probably this year we are also going there to spend a couple of weeks there to work on the fitness, but then also on tennis.
Yeah. Well, Dario, these are my questions. It was an honor to have you here today. And thank you so much for your answers. I'm sure it will be very useful. It's very useful for me, and I hope people will enjoy that too.
Thank you so much, Ipek. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, and that always you can count on us, on our support. I'm really looking forward to your next activities in Turkey, especially according to these events that you are planning for the coaches. And if we can somehow support, we are always there for you to support.
Thank you so much, Dario. Take care and good luck.
No problem. Thank you, Ipek. All the best.
Bye. Thanks.